coffee is not it's sort of not a niche market, and somehow you guys have managed to stay relevant for 88 years. How do you do it?
That customer knowing that you're going to show up when there's a problem, that customer knowing that you are going to deliver them a quality cup of coffee day in and day out. Look, like things happen out there. That's, it's business, but at the end of the day, that, it's trust, not tricks, that keep people loyal.
Welcome to the CBIA BizCast, powered by Google. I'm Ari Santiago, sitting in as guest host, which I'm really excited about, on a little hiatus from the Made in America podcast. But what's really exciting is the opportunity to talk to Nick Bokron of Omar Coffee. Nick, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Ari. Appreciate it.
Well, listen, it's my pleasure. I'm really happy to be here. My first time being able to host a show. So hopefully you'll work with me a little bit.
It's my first podcast too, so I'm thrilled.
Oh, nice. We're doing first time together. Way to be. Well, listen, Nick, can you let's start off a little bit. We're going to be here today talking about Omar Coffee, fourth generation family business here, founded in Hartford, still here in the Hartford area. Can you just start off, for those in the audience who don't know Omar Coffee or who know the business but don't know their history, could you just give us kind of a thumbnail about the history of the business and how it got from its founding to where we are today?
Yeah, the company was founded in 1937 by my great-grandfather, John Costas. I am now the fourth generation to lead the company, and we are a regional coffee roaster. So we've, originated in the Hartford area and gradually have grown throughout New England, New York, and even beyond that. But we roast, pack, and distribute coffee throughout the area. And we also provide the brewing equipment to food service establishments. And we're responsible for servicing that equipment. So we have a whole service division within the company. And also you can buy our coffee directly on omarcoffee.com.
There you go. omarcoffee.com. You can find that on Google even.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
There you go. That's awesome. So it's really everything, right? Just from buying the original raw beans through roasting, through packing, through selling, and then even the machine. So sort of soup to nuts, getting great coffee from the field into your mug and into your mouth.
Yeah, that really is the value proposition that we provide our customers is, we'll give you everything that you need to get up and get brewing so you're able to, sell coffee by the cup.
So, something that's really interesting, Nick, is I find that in successful multi-generational businesses, often the people who are running the business did something outside of the family business first. That was also true for you. So could you just maybe share with the audience your pre-Omar Coffee experience and frankly, how you think that being outside the family business originally helped you prepare for the role you're in today?
Well, I was always drawn to the family business, worked there during the summer times, was really fascinated, by it. So I always had an interest in it. Once I finished college, I did a couple things here and there, but I was able to get a job down at the Rothfuss Corporation, which is part of the Neumann Coffee Group, which is a green coffee importer. And that was a tremendous experience for me, not only to get a lot of knowledge about how the coffee trade works, but also the number of people that I was able to meet while I was down there. And it's, some of those connections have been the most valuable connections that have, served me throughout my career in coffee. So I'm very fortunate to have been able to work down there and get to know a lot of great people down there as well.
Yeah. So when you think about what you learned there, well, let's start from the beginning. A green coffee exporter. So for anyone who's not in the coffee business, can you explain to us what is a green coffee importer?
So they're more or less responsible for bringing green coffee, which is raw coffee beans, from various origins throughout the world. The major one, Brazil, Colombia, Vietnam, Ethiopia. They're responsible for bringing the coffee into the country and facilitating that whole process. They are the ones that supply roasters, throughout the country with their their green coffee beans. And they're responsible for maintaining not only the pricing, the financing, but also delivering specific, qualities as well. So there's, they play a key role in moving coffee along the supply chain.
Yeah, it's so funny, right? Every day, most people, myself included, get a warm, hot cup of coffee in the morning. It's like a great way to start the day. Don't necessarily think about all the steps it took to get that like coffee into my cup.
Yeah, it's incredible. And, for the most part, at least commercially, we don't grow any coffee, in the US. So it's all coming from abroad. But, there is a lot that goes into just producing your daily cup of coffee. So,
you mentioned, I'm sure if I can repeat back what you told me, but you said Brazil, you said Colombia, you said Vietnam, you said Ethiopia. So those seem like could be some pretty diverse climates, although some of them, I guess Brazil, Colombia, and Vietnam strike me as more like moist environments, probably a lot of rain, whereas Ethiopia I think of as more arid and less rain. Is that a good way to think about it? And how does the climate, is it the climate that affects the coffee taste? Is it the soil, like kind of a wine type situation?
I mean, there's a variety of factors that go into it, but really there is a coffee belt. So, coffee is really grown in, tropical areas. And then the other things that will impact it are, elevation. So not only does it have to be in a warmer climate, but the higher the elevation that you have, generally the better the coffee will be.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and maybe this is so deep into coffee science, so hopefully I'm not nerding out too much.
Mountain grown coffee?
Yes, that's right.
It's all mountain grown.
It's all mountain grown coffee.
Yeah.
What is it about the elevation that matters? Do you know?
I would imagine that it has to do something with the development of the bean. But even, when you go to Africa and you see sort of the soil, it just has like this reddish hue. It just looks amazing. And not only is it how the coffee is grown, but then it's how it's processed afterwards, whether it's wet process, dry process, how they remove the cherry from the bean. There's a lot that goes into it that will impact the flavor profile. Mm-hmm. But, in general, most farmers in Brazil, there's a general profile that people are looking for. So your daily cup of coffee kind of tastes the same mm-hmm. over and over again. So they process it to that specification. So you get a coffee that tastes a certain way. Some years are better than others, but
So in that way, it is a little bit like wine.
Yeah. And there is kind of a science down there. You have a lot of agronomists and a lot of people that really understand, how a coffee plant works. And that's one of the challenges that the industry is having now with just climate change is how to address all of these challenges with, warmer temperatures, how that impacts the plant, the fact that you're not getting the same amount of rain at the same particular time. All of these things are having an impact right now on coffee. And, the industry is sort of scrambling to try to, address these changes. But it is an industry-wide concern that could have some scary effects in the future.
Mm. When you were at Rothfuss, did you have an opportunity to sort of travel? Were you out there going to some of these locations to see where the coffee was grown, or were you mostly just sort of stateside?
I've been to Oregon, a couple times. There you actually spend more time in warehouses in New Jersey, looking at coffee and looking at coffee problems. But that's where the coffee ends up, being stored. But it really is incredible when you get on the farm level and see what people are doing and how they're living and what producing coffee is all about.
So when you think back to your time at Rothfuss, and you went right from Rothfuss right into Omar Coffee, correct?
Yeah.
And when you think back to that, I know it's been a few years now, but were there some, like, what experiences or what sort of key lessons or takeaways, maybe specific to the business or maybe just more experientially about business organization or otherwise, did you find when you look back, do you go, oh, wow, that was super valuable? Like, there's a couple things I took away that I've really used and helped me grow in and at Omar.
I think, look, the biggest thing is, how you treat people. I've found, in coffee, if you treat people the right way, that it comes back to you sort of in spades. Just a lot of it is, operating with, honesty and integrity. That goes a long way in coffee. It's, when you have a coffee relationship and you're supplying somebody with coffee, it is generally ongoing. It's not something where, okay, here's the coffee and have a nice life. You're there and it's ongoing. So you really need to make sure that you treat people right and you don't, burn people, or else, you're going to go looking somewhere else for your coffee beans. So it's very important that, look, if there is an issue, I will take care of that issue. I will make it right. But people really have to, be able to trust and rely on you. And that is, I think, a huge part of coffee. And I think that's been a huge part of what, Omar's success is, we've developed a reputation over decades, and we want to make sure whatever it is, we don't want to jeopardize that reputation. So if you're going to do business with Omar, I assure you that we are going to treat you the right way, because our reputation matters to us that much. I mean, it's been built over generations.
Yeah, I mean, literally, we're going to be 88 years in business. That's a wild number.
I don't want to screw it up either. That would be a real shame,
It's made it to you. You got to keep it going.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, which kind of leads me to something I was thinking about ahead of our conversation today is, coffee is not it's sort of not a niche market. It's not a unique market, right? Like, a lot of coffee gets made and sold, and somehow you guys have managed to stay relevant for 88 years. How do you do it in such a crowded and competitive market?
Well, the market has evolved a lot, even in my time. You have competitors that are no longer there. You have competitors that get acquired by other companies. So the competitive landscape has changed, and the people that we really competed against 20 years ago are really not the same people that we compete against. Now you see the market evolve, where you have a lot of small, micro roasters, cafes, that are very, hyper local. You don't see quite as many people that are playing the role of regional roaster. But overall, how do we compete? It really becomes, down to quality and service. And, I know that those can be, equally competitive claims, but that is sometimes the difference is, that customer knowing that you're going to show up when there's a problem, and that customer knowing that you are going to deliver them a quality cup of coffee day in and day out, and doing all that, at the right price. I think that's how we've been able to make it that long. I don't think that there's any sort of, real secret sauce, except for, hard work and dealing with people with integrity. And, look, like things happen out there. That's, it's business, but at the end of the day that, it's trust, not tricks, that keep people loyal.
Trust, not tricks, that keep people loyal. I like that. Just thinking about the idea of the market has changed. I think a lot of people probably listen to this podcast are in a market where consolidation has been a huge factor, right? I mean, it's no secret anybody in business knows, whether you want to call it venture capital or private equity or whatever. The idea of consolidation in the market's been a big deal. I assume that consolidation has happened, and that's why we're not seeing as many regional roasters as you used to in the past. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is a great way to put it. Some of our key competitors, got acquired. They got acquired by larger companies that have, different strategies and different visions. And you're not, it's not the competitive, fervor is not the same, that it used to be. You've got I don't want to, necessarily name names, but you when companies are owned, locally and employing, local people, they just sort of operate differently. When people are, from another part of the country and it becomes sort of an afterthought, the competitive level just kind of, shrinks. Here's the corporate directive. This is what they're doing. This is what they're not doing. And, nobody really cares, otherwise. So
yeah, it looks much more big picture.
Yeah.
So it sounds like as that consolidation has happened, whether it's, through outside investment or just sort of the big fish looking at one way to grow is buying up smaller roasters, sounds like you see a little bit of a, competitive niche and advantage that you can gain through your like quality of customer service and like tighter customer contact that's really opened up an opportunity for you guys.
Yeah, there are not a lot of people doing what we do. And that's, I think, has been about, outlasting the competition and willing to do some things that might not make a whole heck of a lot of sense on paper. But there are just not, quite as many of us as there used to be.
Yeah. You said it's trust, not tricks, but what are you said some stuff that you've done that maybe didn't look good on paper, or some, innovations you guys have done that you feel customers have really appreciated? Any thoughts come to mind if I ask that question?
A lot of it is just, if you go in there and you provide equipment, you expect people to buy a certain amount of coffee from you. And sometimes you over-equip people and you never really get that return on investment. We've had other times where, we've extended credit to people where probably shouldn't have extended credit to them. Stuff along those sort of lines that are just, well, he seems like a nice guy. So, we'll keep him going a little bit longer. So, stuff like that can, definitely can happen.
And do you feel like kind of taking those risks has been a net positive?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's worked out for us more than it's hurt us. And I think that in a lot of ways, it's sometimes if you're willing to do what your, competitor is not willing to do, that's how you get the business. Again, you try the best that you can, but when opportunities present themselves and you think that it kind of want to get into bed with somebody like that, then we don't mind taking those risks. If we see the potential for someone to move a lot of coffee and has a unique location and might require a little something extra, we're willing to do that.
One of the things I always find fascinating about, closely held businesses, family held businesses, especially ones that have lasted for a long period of time, what I've seen having interviewed hundreds of business leaders is that there's generally a consistency or stability around the values inside that business that sort of inspire the leaders, inspire the people that work there. Is that true at Omar? Do you feel that there have been a set of values or core principles that have sort of sustained and been relatively consistent over the 88 years?
Yeah, absolutely. It really has been a family business. My grandfather worked there till, 6 months before he passed away. So and even at the end, he just wanted to be part of it. It was,
dude's 91 years old, still coming in, getting it done.
Calling in, wanted to know what the deposit was. How did we do? And I think that, there was very strong, family values. Family was very important. All the members of my family it's a big thing for us. There's a very strong connection, and, there are tremendous challenges that come along with family businesses. And I think that those sort of values of, how we were brought up, is how we've been able to endure and get to, this generation. That's, how you don't sort of break apart into a million pieces, which you can see how easy it is when you get into these family operations where everyone wants to be, the boss and all those things. I mean, there are just so many challenges that can come with a family business. So yeah, I think that there was just the underlying core, family values, has been what's got us this far. And, I also think that just it's kind of built into how we, do business. I'm talking about our reputation. It's not just the company reputation, it's my family's reputation. So you really, want to make sure that you are out there, really doing the best that you can, because that's really what's at stake. That's what represents.
How do you think about instilling those values in the people that work at Omar? How do you kind of reinforce them? Do you talk about them? Are there like specific values that stand out to you?
We do post something that is the Omar Creed, which kind of has half a dozen bullet points. Trust not tricks happens to be one of those.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Those are, that's just on the wall. We look for people with the right character. We are big believers of training within. We like to take people in, bring on the entry level. And if someone has the right character, meaning that they have the right attitude, they show up in the right time, day in and day out, they're reliable, then we will go and try to give them the appropriate skills, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in sales, whether it's in service. But that's kind of what we look for are people with the right, character. There are people that work at Omar now that their grandparents worked for my grandfather. So you have, multi-generational employees that kind of have that same sort of connection, affinity towards the business. So it means something to them, more than, just a job. And that is, what kind of creates our culture. And, I do a lot to try to, help foster that. But, if you don't have the right integrity at Omar, you're just not gonna fit.
Not gonna fit.
Yeah.
And that sort of self-selection helps perpetuate all those good things forward. I know, it's funny. I notice, that you guys do stuff out in the community. So not just showing these good values inside the four walls, or even just with customers, but beyond that. And so maybe you could help me a little bit. I think it's Coffee for a Cause. Maybe like, tell me a little bit about the background.
We've done work with United Way. We've done lots of different fundraisers. From the, University of Connecticut, work with a fundraising company, MCM Fundraising, who does a lot of fundraisers for schools where, coffee is a great product for a fundraiser, but
sure.
Look, community is really important to us. The people of the community are the ones that ultimately, drink the coffee.
Yeah.
So, anytime we see an opportunity to, support the community, we want to be there. And that's, something that we've done, for a long time. And, we feel that just adds to our, it's part of our brand. It's a great way to, get the brand name out there. So yeah, there is definitely a community focus. We've just been part of this community for such a long time. So,
got to be out there making it happen.
Yeah.
There's something you mentioned earlier I wanted to circle back to. You talked a little bit about the idea of global warming and climate, and how that has can have an impact, already having an impact, can have a bigger impact. And I know you guys did a pretty significant solar project, at the facility in Newington. Were those two things related? Were you thinking about that? What sort of drove the decision to make the solar investment?
I happen to have a friend who started a solar company, and he really turned me on to the idea because his time was we put solar installations on commercial roofs. said, well, I have a roof. So, he kind of
commercial one even, yeah.
Yeah, it's a standing seam white roof per. And I really got, he really turned me on to the idea. So I was, and this is almost, 10, 15 years ago. Really got turned on to the idea of solar, really as a way to reduce my electrical expense. Yeah. We were spending several $1,000s a month on electricity. And I figured, well, if we could put the solar installation on top, then we wouldn't have to, pay for the electricity. I think with the solar, it was just that long-term business focus. If the mentality had been, we're on a 36-month, timeline. We want to make this as profitable as possible. We don't want to spend any money on things that don't have a 12-month ROI on it. We're not willing to do the solar because the ROI is over a period of years. We wouldn't have done it. But because there was the thinking that, look, we want to be here in 10 years, we want to be here in 20 years, that long-term thinking really just made it a high conviction play for us.
I mean, from the perspective of cost management on electricity, I mean, every single person listening to this podcast, whether it's at work or at home, is thinking about, kind of how to better manage electricity costs. So you did the ROI analysis, and now we're how long has it been? It's been 10 years since it's been up?
The installation, we are 6.5 years in.
6.5 years in. So let's just ask the first broad question. 6.5 years in, we feeling good about the investment?
Love the investment.
Love the investment.
I mean, a lot can happen, down the road. Who knows when you're dealing with something that's supposed to last 20, 25 years, who knows what might happen? We got warranties on inverters and panels. You don't really know what's going to happen. But I mean, pretty much as long as the sun comes up and shines on these things, it's producing electricity.
Have you seen the positive impact on cost reduction?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah. We have
meeting expectations, exceeding expectations, not meeting. Where do you put it?
I would say that it is meeting expectations, and that's sort of the way that the program was designed. Granted, we had some government incentives when we first did it that helped accelerate the
ROI.
The ROI.
Yeah.
And it also helped make it a cash flow neutral project where you still have to pay for the panels. So that definitely helped. But for anyone who's in business, who owns their own building and has a roof that is relatively new, or it's we've had a lot of success with it, and it's it really is just amazing getting a $70 bill from.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
$70 bill. Yeah. It's less than I pay for my house.
Yeah, it's a lot less than I pay for my house.
It's wild, yeah. So thinking about that, there's got to be a cash outlay up front, right? I mean, any return on investment, there's got to be the investment. These projects, especially for a large commercial roof, are not small. How did you guys think about financing, and what did you do to self-finance, or how did you get that done?
There were a couple different avenues of financing. They had a CPACE financing program, outside leasing companies, banks. For us, and this was sort of the part of the reason why we ended up with TD Bank, was they were willing to let us put the solar installation on the roof in the first place. Which was huge. Our previous
bank was involved in the decision to allow you to be able to put this on your roof? Well,
our previous bank did not want to allow us to put a solar installation on the roof. And we said, why not? Well, you're taking on an additional liability in order to pay for the solar panels. We don't like that. Plus, if something goes wrong, then we're stuck. It was just not the right, sort of, messaging.
Big picture, long-term thinking that you guys are all about.
I didn't particularly want to hear it because it was I'm missing out. The sun is shining and we're not producing electricity. I didn't want to hear that. And And then, that helped us find TD Bank. It helped us find a new bank, and they were all about, the solar, and helped us get there.
So when you switched to TD Bank, did they help you finance this, or you got the financing through the solar company?
We took the financing through a outside leasing company.
Got it.
That it was a 7-year term, so it'll be paid off in 6 months, and then after that, it's
Gravy train.
Going to pay other bills.
Yeah.
But
so that banking relationship sounds like that change was really instrumental in helping make sure that you guys could follow up through on this investment idea.
Correct. It was. You look when you tell your bank, look, this is something that you want to do. You want to move forward on this. Think it's a good idea, and you want them to be supportive of that idea. You don't want them to throw up red tape and say, no, we don't understand this. We don't like this. We just really didn't care for that
approach.
You
think, being like, I think the 10th or 11th biggest bank in the country, you'd struggle to get a bank of that size to see something and be supportive of something that you guys wanted to do, but it doesn't seem like that was your experience at all.
That was not. Switching to TD has been great for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Helpful over time. Like how important is having like a great, strong financial partner like TD Bank in your corner? How important is that for you guys at Omar Coffee?
It's critical. It's critical to have, a bank that you feel is behind you, that, if you have something come up and you're looking for bank financing, that they're, willing to come in and talk to you. It really has been a wonderful relationship.
Yeah, it's great. Well, like you said before, business is all about strong relationships in every facet. So that's amazing. We talk about this fourth generation business. Only 3% of businesses could ever make it, through that fourth transition. When you take a step back and you look at the last, 88 years, how, and by the way, we didn't even touch on this earlier, which I'll double click on right now and we'll get off it. But when you stepped in as CEO, it wasn't like a long plan that had sort of a big transition. It was kind of a sudden and tragic in a way, a step up. Can you sort of talk a little bit about how you ended up taking over?
Yeah. My mother was the previous CEO, and she passed away in 2017. Very suddenly, she effectively, we were talking about earlier, she, effectively got the flu, and it resulted in, a heart arrhythmia, and the electrical system in her heart shut down. And, it was very tragic. She was 59 years old. All
of a sudden they're coming to you and saying, "Hey, Nick, we need a little support here."
It was just a whole shock. At the time, my grandfather was still around, and he was 86, 87 years old. So he was on the older side. My aunt was still involved in the business. Look, we really rallied together, as a family, to get through it. But also the team of people there, they all really, stepped up. But it was just a very tragic, unexpected thing to have happen. And then all of a sudden, I find myself in, sort of a much different role than before. But I was fortunate. I had some great people around me to kind of keep me sort of leveled and, help me mature.
What are some of the lessons that you've taken from the people that came before you that you think have been really helpful in your success as CEO?
There's, when you're out in business and you're in the field and you're in the game, things happen. You can be very passionate about it, the highs and lows, right? And I feel that, and this, really with my grandfather, you just sort of have to be steady. You're going to have some successes. You're going to have some failures. Good things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. But if you're going to be, the person at the wheel, you have to sort of remain steady, sort of through the good and through the bad, because sort of all the troops, see that. And if you sort of lose your edge, then everyone else sort of feels off feels a little off too. So I feel like it's my responsibility there to kind of keep a cool head, take the information in, right? Try to solve the problems, and doing it in a way where I'm not sort of running hot or get overly upset with people. Just to, sort of remain cool, calm, and collected. I mean, after all, we're doing coffee here.
Yeah.
It's just it's coffee. Like,
take a step back.
Yeah. Just take a step back, people. We're just trying to get people coffee. Like, let's stay in, I know there's a lot of things that happen, but, just to kind of remain, steady, because it's, we do have a long-term focus, and,
that steadiness has been really huge. Yeah. So when you think about someday there'll be the next Nick coming behind you, what are a couple pieces of advice that you'd want, him or her to be able to hear? What are some of the things you think would be really important for them to know to take it to the next level?
I think what I wish I did more of, just try more things to get more things, to get more, exposure to things out in the world, different, take on different, opportunities that, present themselves, take on those, more experiences when you're younger. But overall, I would say this is that it comes down to, how you treat people. Those things about, returning emails, returning phone calls, being on time for people. I think all those things ultimately, I think they add up in the end.
They matter. Yeah,
they do. And I wish I were a lot better when I was younger, at that, of just getting back to people, close the loop. Don't leave people out there and just, forget about, sorry, I didn't get back to you. It's like, no, that's not cool. Just get back and give me the bad news. Yeah. I'd much rather you give me the bad news.
Just reply.
Yeah, just reply to me, and so I can go on with my life. So it's stuff like that. Just dealing. And then I think just having fair. If you don't have integrity, you don't have anything.
Fair enough.
That's how I see it. Is that you just in any sort of business deal, you've got to come in with some integrity. People that don't have integrity, it's just very difficult to deal with.
Always comes back to trust, not tricks, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, I really appreciate you coming on the CBIA BizCast chatting with me today. It was fun pre-show. It's been fun during the show. It's a very, very impressive story, how far Omar Coffee's gone, your ability to sort of step up and make it happen. Super appreciate you sharing your views with the audience. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Ari, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
And to all the listeners out there, thank you so much for listening to us today, for watching or hearing us wherever you are. Please like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcast, or on YouTube where you're watching us. Thanks a lot.